Hi, everyone. I'm trusting you're having a lovely day so far. I want to thank all of you for making time to be here with us today. We will have an amazing session on how to craft the perfect CV when you're looking for remote opportunities. Remote opportunities are there in plenty, but for you to get one of these opportunities, you first need to have a CV that highlights your skills, your competencies, your experience, and shows potential employer what you can do for them. My name is Melvin Muna. I am from Kenya, and I will be your host today. We'll have an amazing session. It will be interactive. I want to ask you to feel free to use the chat if you need to ask a question, if you need to comment, and you'll be given the permission to do so. I would also want to let you know that this is the second part of our webinar series. We'll have 2 more after this, and we'll use this session and the others for our remote opportunities challenge. This is where one of you who will participate accordingly, one of you who will do well in the quizzes, one of you who will share opportunities with others, will get the opportunities to be mentored by myself on remote work, how to excel in remote work, how to find remote work opportunities so that you can keep growing and improving yourself as a young African. And so I want to ask you that we'll be checking how you engage with us on this event through, you can ask questions, you can comment. We will also have pop-up quizzes here and there on issues that I will be talking about during this session. So please, if you know an answer to a question that will be raised, please feel free to answer. If you have a question, feel free to ask. Your engagement will be used to determine who will be the lucky winner of our Remote Opportunities Challenge. The reward is 4 one-on-one opportunities with myself. I will mentor you on remote work and use my experience to guide you so that you can excel and succeed as a remote worker. So at this point, I'd like to move over and start my presentation. If you allow me to share my screen so that you can start today's session. Thank you everyone for making time to be here with us. I'm honored to have all these people joining in, and feel free to raise a comment, to raise a question, to raise your hand if you want to say something. I'll now share my screen. I hope my screen is visible to everyone. I also hope I'm loud enough. If you have a challenge hearing me, if you have a challenge seeing the screen, the presentation, please let me know. I also want to inform all the participants that this session is available in both English and French. So if you're a French speaker, you can move over to the live French interpretation. Simply click the interpretation button at the bottom of the screen. Click the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen, and you can choose to move to the French live interpretation. If you're okay with English, you can stay in the main channel. You can stay with this English audio, and we can proceed with the event. But if you are a French speaker and you understand French better than you do English, I'd ask you to use the live French interpretation that has been provided for you. Just click the button at the bottom of the screen and navigate over to the French interpretation. Thank you so much. Okay, so today our session today is about how to make your CV stand out when applying for a remote opportunity. I'll be sharing tips, guidance that job seekers can use to write a CV that will help them land the remote jobs that they are looking for. Okay, so just a few reminders. I've probably mentioned some of these in my introduction. Turn off your microphone if you're not speaking. You can leave your camera on, but if you are not in an ideal location, maybe you are traveling, you're in a car, and the background is not that appealing, you can also turn off your camera. And feel free to use the comment the chat box to type in your comments and your questions. And the questions, I will answer them. Gracia will take note of the questions, and if there's anything pressing, she will let me know. But other questions and comments, I will handle them at the Q&A session of this presentation. Okay, so let me just take you through what we'll go over this afternoon. One is the importance of a well-crafted CV for job applications. We'll go over what recruiters and employers look for in a CV. Also, the essential sections that should be present in your CV for it to catch the eye of recruiters and potential employers, and also what you need to do to craft your CV for maximum impact. And then I will share with you a CV template that you can use to customize your own CV and start applying for these remote jobs that you desire to get. So, as I said, my name is Melvin Muna. I'm from Kenya. I am a remote work specialist and consultant. I have more than 7 years of experience as a remote worker, and I've worked with numerous organizations across the world, the US, the UK, in India, as far as even Australia and New Zealand. I have clients, I've worked with clients from the world, and I've done all this while working from Kenya. I haven't had to travel to any of these locations, but because I realized that remote work is something that I can take advantage of early on in my career, I've been working remotely, and this has allowed me to build myself as a young person. This has allowed me to gain skills, to improve my cultural awareness because of interacting with people from all parts of the world. It's something that I want to share with other young Africans. And the purpose of this webinars is to use my experience in remote work to guide the next generation of young Africans who are looking to succeed as remote workers. Okay, so we'll get right into our webinar. And part one of this webinar is the importance of a well-crafted CV. Why do you need a CV that has been crafted properly? Why not just use the CV you used probably when you graduated from college and use it for all your job applications? After all, it captures your education, what you're passionate about. Why not use a poorly crafted CV as long as it contains the information that you want to share? So we'll talk, the first session is the importance of a well-crafted CV for remote job applications. So the job market has changed significantly over the past few years. And this is because of the explosion of the internet. The internet has brought about so many opportunities. And if you are wise enough, if you are clever enough, if you really care about personal growth and professional growth, you can use the internet to build yourself. There's so many opportunities that are available have been made possible because of the internet. And you can take advantages of these opportunities to become a better individual, to improve your life financially, even professionally, because the skills you get as working as a remote workers, you're exposed to so many skills, experiences that will build you. Okay, so as remote work has become popular, the competition for these opportunities has also increased. Okay, many people are realizing that I don't need to be in America to work for an American organization. I can work for an American organization from my home country in Ghana, in Nigeria, as long as I have the skills, as long as I have the attitude and the drive, I can still do these jobs. So many people are becoming aware of the opportunities that are available remotely. And this has increased competition for these remote opportunities. To stand out in this job market, you need a well-crafted CV, a CV that showcases your skills, a CV that showcases your experience and the unique qualities you bring as a worker, as a remote worker. Okay, so one of the importance of why you need a well-crafted CV that, as I've said, remote opportunities are highly competitive. The rise of remote work means that more people are looking to work from home. The opportunities available, the convenience that comes with working from home, you get to spend more time with your family. You get to manage your time. You get to avoid commuting every other day in the rain with heavy traffic, like is the case in Nairobi. So these opportunities are highly competitive. So you need a well-crafted CV that will make you stand out from the competition. A recruiter or an employer who is looking probably for a few people is looking for probably 1 or 2 person for a job, a remote job, they will look at your CV to see who stands out from the best. And you can use a CV to highlight your skills, your experiences, and what makes you the best candidate for a particular remote job. Also, your CV is the first impression you make. When you apply for a job, the recruiter will first take a look at your CV to get a picture of who you are, to get a picture of what you can do, to get a picture of what you can deliver for that organization. This is the first impression you make. So you need your CV to represent you. Are you a competent person? Do you have the skills that the organization is looking for? Do you have the attitude to thrive as a remote employee? Remember, it's not just about delivering on your job. Can you connect well with other workers in your organization? Are you patient enough to, with the remote work, you're not working in the same time zone. Can you sacrifice so that you can join in a meeting with other employees, probably at times that are not odd hours? So this is the first impression you make, and you need a well-crafted CV to highlight what you bring to the table. Also, remote work requires specific traits, specific characteristics, and you can use your CV to highlight these skills. Are you a good time manager? Show that in your CV. Are you self-motivated and driven to do your work even when no one is supervising you? You need to show that in your CV. You need to show that in your experiences, the work experience that you've had so far, that I've been able to self-motivate myself to achieve my goals, to achieve my targets. Remote work is also about communicating well with your colleagues, with your boss, with clients. Do you have the skills, communication skills, to make this process as seamless as possible? Or you are hard-headed and you can't take instruction, you can't take criticism, or you can't, you see? So you need to use a well-crafted CV to showcase these skills and improve your chances of landing the job that you are after. Your CV also reflects your personal brand. Personal branding is very important in today's market. Who are you? What do you stand for? What do you bring to the table? What's your professional identity? A well-crafted CV can show your unique qualities and value proposition as a remote worker. Remember, many people are after these jobs. You want to stand out. What makes you different from the rest? Probably you all have the same degree, probably the same number of years of experience, but there's that thing that makes you stand out, that makes you unique. Probably you did a project elsewhere and you succeeded with very little help from other people in the organization. Probably you volunteered yourself, volunteered your time to support the needy. Probably you step up when an organization needs you. Probably there's some task, a tough task that needs to be done, and you're always the first person to take responsibilities for whatever the organizations you're working for want. So this is how you showcase your professional identity to improve your chances of landing a remote role. Another importance why you need a well-crafted CV for your remote job applications is to highlight the value you bring to the organization as a remote worker. Okay, so you get to, with a CV, you can use your work experience to show the value that you bring to the organization that you work for. The recruiter will assess what you've written, what you say you accomplished in your previous employment, and if this is something that they wish to have in the organization, they can consider you for this role. Okay, so another thing that you need a CV for is a CV shows your ability to work independently. For remote work, you don't have anyone supervising you. You can have a manager, you can have a team lead, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to achieve your goals, to achieve your objectives, to achieve your targets. So a well-crafted CV that highlights your self-motivation, initiative, and ability to work independently shows potential employers that you have what it takes to succeed in remote work. Remember, in the previous session, we say that the employers are skeptical about remote work because they are not sure that you can fit in well with the organization. They're not sure that you have what it takes to still achieve your targets when you're not being supervised. So you can use your CV to highlight that you don't need someone to watch over you for you to achieve your goals. So a well-crafted CV allows you to show your ability to work independently. Okay, so now that we understand the importance of a CV, what do recruiters and employers look for in a resume? Okay, so a recruiter has posted a job application, a job opening, and people have applied. What do they look for in a resume? What do they want to see for them to say that this candidate is what I'm looking for? This candidate can fit in our organization. This candidate has what it takes to deliver, to do the work that we will expect them to do in this role. So to stand a chance of progressing to the interview stage, your resume needs to hook the reader within seconds. Hiring managers receive hundreds of applications for just one role, and they only scan resumes, CVs before deciding who to interview. With jobs hard to come by, a particular job opening, let's say a job opening that requires just one person, can get even 1,000 applications. And the recruiter is bound to go through all the applications to determine the best fit. So you can imagine, sometimes they may not have the time to go through all these resumes, and they may just scan to see if you have the education qualification that they need, scanning to see if in your CV, you've stated you have the skills that are advertised in the job opening that they're looking for. They will scan to see if your professional experience matches what they're looking for. So what are recruiters and employers looking for in a CV? One, very important, which is often overlooked, is the keywords pertaining to these jobs. Keywords. Jobs have specific keywords. It could be the skills required for that job. It could be the roles that you'll perform in that position. So recruiters don't read CVs word for word. They have a pile of CVs and they quickly scan for keywords from the job posting to see if your CV is something they can consider, to see if they can put your CV aside for further assessment. Remember, they have thousands of CV that they're looking at, they need to review, and they need to quickly take a look at your CV to see if the keywords that they're looking for, is it the skills? It could be the skills, they're looking for a particular skill, or if it's a software job, they're looking if you have experience with a particular programming language. So they'll just scan your CV to see if you've highlighted that programming language in your as one of the things that you can do well. So make sure that your keywords, I'll talk about this later, but you need to ensure that your CV has the keywords that employers and recruiters are looking for. Also, sometimes scanning CV is done by software. And with software, you just feed in, I want CVs that use this, that have this term within in the CV. So the software scans and tells them, I've scanned 100 CVs, only 10 have this keyword. These are the CVs that will be considered. So keywords are very important. I'm hoping you're taking note of that. Also, they are looking for concrete examples of your success. It's not about the work that you've done. It's not about the role and the jobs you performed. It's about the successes you achieved in that position. So when building your CV, you'll be more successful. You increase your chances of getting invited for an interview if you can provide concrete examples of the successes you achieved in previous roles. Okay, so as an example, instead of saying proven successful audience engagement manager, you can say this is probably someone who does social media management. You can say increased organic Facebook engagement by 5%. You can see this is the success is measured. You're not just stating the work you did, but how well you did it. And these are the things that recruiters are looking for, concrete examples of success. Don't just say, I worked at this role, I was a driver, I drove from point A to point B, I collected people from point A to B and dropped them at point B. I collected goods every other day and made 5 trips in a day. You need to quantify your success. Quantify what you achieved in specific roles. You increase your chances of being interviewed if you can show that. Remember, employers want people who will do well for them. So if you can show that you did well for your previous employers, you increase your chances of landing a role. Also, employers are also looking for context about your current role. Where are you working? What organization are you working for? Is it a startup? Is it a Fortune 500 company? Is it a mid-sized company? Remember, the tasks that you do for each of these roles are different, because a HR manager for a startup with just 10 employees doesn't do the same job as an HR manager for an international NGO with thousands of employees. There are different roles, different responsibilities, different, I can say that the way of doing work is different for people in each of these roles. So you need to give more context about your current role. I'm working for a startup. Currently, I am the CEO of a startup. Probably you're the only employee in that startup. This is different from the CEO of a mid-sized company with around 500 employees. The roles that you do here are different. In one organization, you're only managing yourself. In the other organization, you're managing 500 employees. So they're looking for context about your role. And for remote work jobs, they're looking for remote work experience. Recruiters may look for candidates who have experience working remotely or who have demonstrated success in a remote work environment. So if during COVID, you had to work from home and you enjoyed the experience and you're looking you're applying for a remote role, a remote job, show in your CV that there's this point I worked remotely. There's this point because of this and these circumstances, I work from home. This is what I achieved working from home. This is how I was able to connect and integrate with other members of the organization as a remote worker. Some of these things you may explain later during the interview stage, but you need to at least, if you're applying for a remote role, you need to at least show that you have some remote work experience. Don't overlook it. With the things that I'm sharing, you realize that you need to rework your CV. You need to highlight so many things because you need to be intentional. A CV is not a dead document. It's a living document that you need to be editing and changing every other day and customizing it for the job that you're applying for. Okay, so let's continue, but I will talk about that later on. You also need to show your communication skills. Employers are looking for people with great communication skills because remote work cannot succeed if you're not communicating well with your team members, with your manager, with your team lead. So make sure that in your CV, you show the level of communication skills that you have. It can be written, it can be verbal communication skills, but communication skills are very important for remote work. And if you want to land a remote role, you need to show that I'm a good communicator and I relate well with people that I work with as a remote worker. You also need ability to work independently. Recruiters are also looking for people with the ability to work independently. Okay, so when listing your job experiences, don't just say, I perform this and this role, this and this role. Make sure that you at least show that in this role, for this position, I performed certain tasks and I was able to work independently to achieve certain goals, to achieve company goals. So you need to show your recruiters are looking for people with the ability to work independently, and your CV should demonstrate this ability. Okay, recruiters are also looking for a clear career trajectory. Recruiters will also scan your CV for a narrative that makes sense for the position that you're applying for. Okay, you need to show growth. Growth should be evident. So you started as a junior level employee. The next job that you did, you need to show that I at least advanced and took up more responsibilities. And even if you are not, that was not evident in the pay, but in the work that you did, in the experiences that you manage and the responsibilities that you had, it should be evident that you are growing. Your CV shouldn't just say that, should ensure that all your roles, are at the same level, junior level. No, at least some career projection to show that, one, you are a go-getter. Two, that you don't settle for mediocrity or for less, that you're always looking to improve and you are always looking to take up more responsibility. So if you're just starting out, your education should show that you're working at a position that matches the education that you did. And if it's a certain position, it should, let's say the internship experiences, the internship and maybe volunteer experiences should show that you have a clear growth plan in your particular career. Okay, so if it's a mid-level career, your work experiences to show that you've been growing, you'll be taking up more responsibilities, and you've also been not only just taking responsibilities, but delivering on them. Okay, so this is what recruiters are looking for. So if it's not evident, find a way to, I'm not saying to lie in your CV, but take a look at your career since the time you, let's say, graduated from school, and make sure that there's a clear growth plan to show that you are always looking to become a better person. This is what recruiters are looking for. And if you have so many lateral moves, like you're at the same position in all the jobs that you've been working, all the organizations you'll be working for, that will not do well for you because it shows you're not growing. Okay, so there's that. So employers also and recruiters are also looking for tech skills. Remote work requires people to use software, to use tools, technologies to communicate, to stay in touch, to manage projects, and to show where they are in a particular project. So if you can show in your CV that I have advanced tech skills to be able to do a particular job well, that is something that can increase your chances of landing the remote role that you're looking for. So show in your CV that you are familiar with how to use technology to connect in a professional environment. So recruiters are also looking for professionalism in your presentation. How have you structured your CV? Is it in a well-organized manner? Is there a clear arrangement of the CV sections? And how have you arranged your experiences? Are you starting with the latest to the earliest, or how have you arranged your CV? So they're also looking at this. It may look trivial at this point to think that someone will take time to see if your CV is written well, but if it comes down to, let's say it's you and someone else for a particular job and your CV is poorly done and theirs is done well, I'm sorry to say this, but you will lose that job. So make sure your CV is presented well. And I will share with you a template that you can edit quickly to create a CV that is written properly. So the design should also match the culture in your industry. So let's say if you're a software engineer, engineers have fancy CVs because they have the tools, the design skills to build a good CV. So you can just market yourself with a nice CV. So if your industry is design oriented, make sure your CV has a similar look and design. Also, don't put any social media handles in your CV unless it's required or asked for in the job opening description. So another thing recruiters are looking for is education. They need to know that you have the skills. Besides the skills, that you have the education and training for the particular job that you're applying for, especially if they have listed it as an essential in the job description. Okay, so if this job requires a master's degree and you don't have a master's degree, I'm sorry to say, but you may not even proceed to even the next round, because they'll scan, see you don't have a master's degree, and they may not consider your application further than that. So ensure that you highlight all the relevant educational certificates you have that are relevant to the job you're applying for. Okay, so they're also looking for results and achievements. So if you have accomplished something in your current and previous jobs, make sure to highlight it. Managers and employers want people who are successful, and you increase your chances of landing a role if you can show that you've achieved in the work that you've been doing. So, for example, if you're working as a sales manager, make sure to state your targets, the targets that you had, and how you are able to achieve or maybe overachieve on those targets. They're also looking at the formatting and label, as I've said. And you need to ensure your CV is formatted in a way that's easy to read. Also, it should present your CV in a format that won't trouble the recruiter to open. So my advice is send your CV as a PDF document. Yeah, so you can have a Word version on your computer where you edit accordingly, where you make changes, but when you need to apply for a job, download your CV as a PDF document and send that, and send it in that format. Okay, don't send us Word, because Word is easy to edit, and someone can, when they are going over your CV, they can probably, when they are trying to click on your email, they can add another character and your email is no longer functioning and they are not able to reach you. So save as a Word document because it cannot be edited, and it also protects not as a Word document, as a PDF document, because it cannot be edited. And also because a PDF, it looks good because our document it's live. There's always a cursor here and there, but as a PDF, it's just a clean format. Nothing can be done to it. Also, the way you save your CV is important. Make sure you save your CV with your name and hyphen resume or CV. So if your name is John James, so save your CV as John James _CV, something like that. Don't save it as my CV. Who is my CV? Because this recruiter will download several CVs when they are assessing them. And if they cannot quickly identify whose CV is whose, because they cannot identify your CV because you've saved it as my CV, you can easily be overlooked. So make sure you save your CV with your name and with your name and maybe CV at the end or resume at the end. Okay. So we're about to enter into another session of which parts to include in your CV, and I'd like to get your input on this matter. So I'm sure you all have CVs. So which parts do you think should be included? Should you include in your CV or resume? Which parts are important that you need to highlight in your CV? So please use the chat box. I will be monitoring the chat box and I will see your answers and we will proceed from there. So which parts should you include in your CV? Which parts do you feel are important that need to be there? And let's discuss. So share in the chat and I will take a look at the chat and I will see what you guys are saying. It's not that difficult. We don't have right or wrong answers over here. We are here to learn. So feel free to participate in this small quiz, this mini quiz, and let me check if there's anything on the chat. Okay. So yeah, I can see nice contributions. So let me just go over them. So Lois is saying include keywords. Musa Jingi is saying achievements. Nice, thank you. Nikaise is saying my successes. Nice, that is nice. You need to show your successes in your CV. You need to, let me see if I can scroll up. So Grace Mew is saying volunteer experiences and achievements. Nice. Omega is saying profile objectives, industry experiences and skills. Nice. Thank you so much for contributing. And Pauline Gachuhi is saying awards and honors. Nice. Rollis is saying degrees, experiences, skills, and volunteering. Nice. Those are very good sections to have in your CV. Zainabu is saying your achievements. Yes, nice. Please, let's include our achievements in our CVs. And let me see the others that I missed at the top. Yes, yeah, I missed. So Carol say professional summary, work experience, educational skills. Yes, those are very good sections to have in your CV. Wendy says work experience, skills, and achievements. Nice. Thank you so much, Wendy. Naomi says contact details, work experience, skills, and achievements. Thank you so much. Michael says relevant educational skills. And let me see the new ones. Okay. Millicent says work experience. Thank you. Immaculate says experience and education. Thank you so much. Lois says talk about your current role and include that you have good communication skills. Then we have, those are all very nice comments and engagement. Thank you so much for participating. Ruth says the value bring to the company. Oh, nice. Abena says education, work experience, skills, volunteer experience, depending on your mission and the goals. Yeah, those are very good things to include. So let me close the chat and we can proceed back to our presentation. Thank you so much. Those are very good responses. And I want to appreciate all those who have participated. So what should you include in your CV to help hiring managers make informed decisions? It's crucial to provide the right level of details, when filling out specific sections. That is why your CV should include the following sections. So you've mentioned the sections that you need to include. So I will, in this part, I will guide you on how to fill out these sections. So it's not just about filling out your education, filling out where you went to school. There's a way you need to fill out these sections to appeal to your recruiter or hiring manager. So the first section is contact information or contact details. You need to make it easy for recruiters to reach you. So your CV should have your contact details at the very top. This is the first thing that you need to have in your CV, your contact details. So the important contact details that you need to add are, one is your name. Write your full names. Don't just write one name. You can write your first name, your middle name, and your surname. 3 names is okay. Or you can choose to have just your first and your surname. You also need to have your email address. Your email address will also be there to make it easy for the hiring manager to contact you should they decide to move you to the interview stage. You also need to share a reachable telephone number. Okay, so share your mobile number, if the one that you use most of the times, the one that's easy, that people find you, can easily find you. I understand that people have several telephone numbers. Like here in Kenya, sometimes you have a telephone number for calls, you have one for data, you have one for maybe messaging, because telecom provider has cheaper messaging plan and you want to talk to your girlfriend. So you have a line specifically for that. But for your CV, make sure you share the telephone number that is always on, the telephone number that people can use to easily find you. It's that one that is always never off. Okay, so that's the number you want to add in your CV. You also want to give your location. Where are you from? So if you are from Accra in Ghana, add that in your contact details. Just say Accra, Ghana. Don't give the specific don't give your specific address. Don't say I live in house number 4 in so-and-so estate across this road. So much details. Just give your location, your city, and your country, because remote work, maybe they need to know where you're from so that they can have an idea of how to plan engagement with you. And also there's an exception here of, you can add your LinkedIn profile if you have one. Actually, I'd say, in fact, include it. We cancel the maybe. So include your LinkedIn profile, because your LinkedIn profile is linked to your professional career. This is where you share what you're doing professionally. This is where you give a story, your professional story. So sometimes a CV may not really capture the small things you do, probably for your community, probably how you engage other professionals in your industry. Your CV may not capture that, but your LinkedIn profile will. So include your LinkedIn profile in your CV. You can add a link to your LinkedIn profile, or I'll show you how to do it later on when I share the templates, so that it doesn't take so much space. Okay, so after the contact details, you need to share professional summary. So a professional summary acts as an introduction to your CV, and it's usually the first thing that a recruiter reads. So after they've seen your name, they move straight to your professional summary. Who are you? What do you stand for? What have you done so far professionally? Okay, and this is the place where you want to use those keywords, because when they read that summary, it needs to indicate that you are applying for a particular job. So your summary should capture that you have experience in that field. Okay, so with the professional summary, it shouldn't be long. Your CV summary should be 3 to 4 lines that capture your work history briefly. And this is how to structure it. So you start with the professional title. So I'm a sales manager you need to say how many years of experience you have. So I'm a sales manager with 5 years of experience. Mention your top achievements, just 1 or 2, who has helped Fortune 500 companies achieve the sales target, who has helped this and this company introduce a certain product in the market and it did so well. Also share your most relevant skills. Just briefly, I'm conversant with this and this. If you're a software developer, mention the languages that, the programming languages that you're proficient at. It doesn't need to be long, just keep it short. Include your professional title, how many years of experience you have, your top achievements briefly, and the most relevant skills. And that will be a professional summary. So the next part that you need to include in your CV is work experience. So list your previous work experience in reverse chronological order. This means you start with probably your most current role to the job that the earliest job that you did. Okay, don't start the other way around. Recruiters are mostly interested with what you're doing right now, so list your most current role first. Okay, so for each position, this is very important. Include the name of the company, the job title. What was your position in that organization? So were you a base station engineer? Were you working as a sales executive? Also include the dates of employment. You can include the month when you started this job. So let's say you started this job on March 2019. So just the month and the year you started this job, and also the time it ended. So if you started March 2019 and ended the job on December 2022, so make sure to include that when you're listing your work experience. Also a brief description of what you did for that organization in that particular role. So a brief description of your responsibilities and accomplishment. And when possible, try to stick to achievements over responsibilities, okay, as they allow you to stand out from the competition and demonstrate the successes that you achieved at that role. So this is an example of how to list your achievement for a particular job. So you can say hit and exceeded department KPIs by 20% for the year 2019. So if you worked as a sales manager, you had KPIs. These are key performance indicators that are used to measure how you are performing. So you hit and exceeded them by 20% for that year. So rather than saying I was in charge of sales for this organization for 2 years, say quantify your achievement this way. It makes it easy for the recruiter to understand to picture what you can do for their organization, should they give you this chance to work for them. Okay, so you also need to share your education. So list and date all previous education, including professional qualifications. So don't just list your degree. If you've done a certificate course that improved your skills and capabilities in a particular area, make sure to list that in the education section. Start with the most recent and also include the qualification you got. So if you got a first class, include that and when you graduated. So with the education, you should highlight your graduation date or year. Let's leave it at year, yeah. It's easier that way to be clumsy. So if you graduated in 2019, so state that. Also, if there's space, you can mention the modules that you did for that course, but this is not necessary, but it's something to consider if you have space in your CV. Okay, so list reverse chronological order, list just as you did for the work experience. You also need to show your skills. So use this section to show skills that are relevant to the job that you're applying. So this can be hard and soft skills. Don't overlook soft skills because they're quite important in today's workplace. So as you're listing your hard skills, if you are you're a software developer and you're listing the programming languages that you're good at, also say the soft skills that you have. It could be you're a good team player, those soft skills, communication skills, time management, Actually, the soft skills are now the hard skills because there's not that common. So make sure you list the soft skills that you have. And you need to pay attention to, be realistic about your skill level, okay? If you don't exaggerate, because if you do and you land that job, you will be in an awkward position because you will not be able to perform the work that will be assigned to you. So when listing your skills, don't exaggerate. Don't say I'm super proficient as a sales marketer, yet you're not to that highest level. So be realistic. Say I'm a midterm. I'm not. I'm intermediate. I'm in the intermediate level, and when you get called to the interview, you can explain yourself better, but don't exaggerate, because when you get the job and you're not able to perform as expected, you'll be in trouble. So you also need to list a session for awards and achievements. So use this session to highlight any significant accomplishments or awards that you have received in your career. So if you worked as a sales executive and you were awarded the best sales executive for that year by your organization, make sure to list that. It could be your professional association recognized you as the best software engineer for a particular, let's say you're the engineer, you've handled many projects that help the community, so you've been given an award for your work in the community. Highlight that, okay? So when narrating your achievements, include the award title and the purpose of the award and what it recognizes. So here's an example. I received the 2020 Marketing Campaign of the Year award from the American Advertising Federation for this campaign that I did. So that's an example. So listing your awards and achievements, give the title, the purpose of the award, and how you achieve that briefly. You don't want your CV to be crowded. Okay, so another section to include, which I didn't see anyone mention, is professional affiliations and membership. This is a very important section because recruiters sometimes are looking for people. When you're a member of a professional association, it means you're always working to improve your skill to meet the demands of that association. Probably you have to renew your license or the certificate every year. So, and for you to get your certificate to be renewed, you need to do an exams, or someone needs to come and assess you. So it shows that you are working to improve your skill if you are a member of a professional affiliation or membership. So if you are a member of any of this body, make sure to add that to your CV tool. It can help you stand out from the competition. It can help you. Sometimes hiring decisions are broken by such things. Yeah, you can all have the same degree, the same experience, but this guy is a member of this association, this professional body, which is very important in this industry, but this one is not. So if you are a member, highlight that. Also include the type of membership. So is it a student? Are you a student level, graduate level member, professional, fellow, or associate? Make sure to include that. References. This is the last section that you need to include, but you don't need to provide it at this stage when you are in your CV. You can always say referees are available upon request. Okay, so it's not that important to have referees in your CV. You can just say they're available upon request, and if the recruiter is convinced of has gone through the other section and he or she is impressed, they will tell you, can you share contact details of 2 or 3 referees that you can reach out to learn more about you. But they will not disqualify you or not consider you as a candidate because you do not add referees to your CV. So you can just say referees are available upon request, and when they request you to provide with the references, make sure to provide them. And one thing is that when you add someone as a referee, please let them know. And Sometimes just if you added someone as your referee, call them and ask them if, call them even with another number and ask them if they remember you. Sometimes they even forgot about you. So you add someone as a referee and they don't know. They receive a call from a recruiter and they start trying to remember, who is this? Where did I meet him? Probably he was your manager, but you left that organization a while back. So you need to keep in touch with the referees. Just catch up with them and say, by the way, you are my referee, and should someone reach out to you, hope you put in a nice word for me. Okay, so at least it doesn't become weird when they are called and they can't remember you. Okay, so we are into the second part of this webinar series, which are the mistakes that you need to avoid. The resume mistakes you need to avoid when searching for a remote job. So let's get right into it. Now that we've covered the do's of CV making, let's talk about the don'ts. These are the things that should not be present in your CV. So let's see, what should you not add to your CV? One is the exact address. You don't need to tell your recruiter where you live exactly. Don't start saying, I live in this building, this estate, by this road. Just, it's not needed. Okay, so don't, also date of birth, don't include your date of birth, because you can be discriminated because of it, because a recruiter can think you're either too young or too old. So leave your date of birth out of it. I remember my first CV that I created when I was looking for an internship position. I added my date of birth, probably even my marital status. Don't even realize where I was adding those sections, but please don't add your date of birth. It can harm you because they may see you are either too young or too old. Let them judge you. Let the recruiter judge you on your skills, but not your age. Okay? So also don't add irrelevant social media profiles. By irrelevant, I'm not saying like your Twitter, your Facebook. Yeah, those ones don't even need to be there. The relevant ones are those that are not relevant to the job that you're applying for. So if you're applying for a job as an accountant, you don't need to mention your GitHub profile, because GitHub is a profile for software developers. You don't need to add that into your CV. You probably took some training on software development, but you left that a while back. Remove that from your CV you're applying for, if it's not relevant to the job you're applying for. You also don't include short-term jobs, okay? Because they may make you look like you hop from jobs. You're a job hopper. Recruiters are looking for people who are stable, for people who, when they're not quick to leave an organization. Yeah, things can go bad, but are you willing to hold on? You're not and persevere with the organization that has employed you. So if you've worked for an organization for a month or 2 months, don't add that to your CV. It will make you look bad. Okay? Or let's say your uncle employed you in his shop for 2 months after graduation, and there's no need for adding that in your CV. It's not relevant to what you're applying for. While you can talk about that in the interview, but don't add it in the CV. Okay, so the work history, also you need to limit your work history. The recruiter doesn't need to know what you did 25 years ago. Your work experience sections should only cover the last 10 years of your work. As I said, recruiters are only interested with your most recent jobs. Okay, so don't say I volunteered in my church as not volunteered, but I was hired to clean my church after graduating from high school, not even college. The recruiter doesn't need to know what you are doing that far back. Just show them the recent experience that you have and how it relates to the job you are applying for. You also need to limit the usage of images and graphs and pie charts, because one, they take up too much space, and we need to keep your CV as short. Your CV needs to be short, doesn't need to be long. So you don't need to add images to make your CV fancy. After all, they're only looking at your skills. But Adding images will just make your CV to be lengthy. This is another thing that I really want you to pay attention to. Using level bars to quantify your skills. Some people do this. In fact, most of the CVs I've gone through, they have bars where people say, this is what I can, this is my experience level for this particular skills. It's hard to actually measure when you use a bar. Like you say, I'm 3/4 way there. What does that even mean? It can be misleading. So if you're experienced in HTML and CSS, just list that as a skill. And when you get the chance to interview for this job, you can talk about your experience level. Okay, but using bars, stars, 4 out of 5 stars, no, don't rate yourself. It can be misleading and you can lose a job because of it. Just list the skills that you have, and when you get the chance to talk about this at the interview level, your skill level. Oh, so we are heading to another quiz, and this is quite a debate. So how long should a CV be? When building a CV, how long should it be? I'm sure you have CVs, so how long are your CVs? And do you believe that's the right length? So use the chat box. Just write how long in terms of pages. So what is the ideal length of a CV? So if it's 2 pages, write 2 pages. Share your answers in the chat, and I will take a look at them and see what you guys are saying. And then I will share later on about the ideal length. Okay, so feel free to use the chat box. There's no right or wrong answers. We are here to learn. So let me see if we have anyone on that. So how long, what is the ideal length of a CV? Please use the chat to, okay, so Carol is saying 2 to 3 pages, depending on experience. Catherine is saying 3 pages. So her CV is now 3 pages. Thank you, Catherine, so much for sharing. And Jacob Isaac is saying 2 to 3 pages. Kadi is saying 1 to 2 pages. Stephen is saying 1 page. Thank you so much for sharing. Ruth is saying 2 pages. Okay, I can see 2 pages is like what people are aiming. So yeah, the sum I didn't see. Salfo is saying 1 page. Linda is saying 1 page. And Carol 2 to 3 pages. So Nikaise is saying 3 pages maximum. I'm not sure if there's a maximum or okay, so we have Ruth is saying average length of 2 pages. Thank you so much, Ruth. Raulis is saying a CV should be adapted to the opportunity you're applying to, but it should be as short as possible. So between 1 and 2 pages, 3 if you have a lot of experience. Thank you so much, Raulis, for sharing. Suzanne is saying 3 pages. Catherine says depends on experience and skills. Wendy is 2. Ruth is saying better still, it depends on your life experience. And Henry is saying 1 to 2 pages. Thank you so much. So thanks for your responses. So I will we'll proceed, and I will tell you the ideal page.
Wow.
Also, okay, so let me proceed. Just a moment. So the ideal length of the CV will fall on this chapter about crafting your CV for maximum impact. So crafting a strong CV is crucial to standing out in today's competitive job market. So here are the tips and strategies to make an impact on potential employers and land your remote job applications. So here's how to craft this. This is what you need to do to craft your CV for maximum impact. The first thing is to tailor or customize your CV to the job experience. As I said, a CV is a live document. When you get a job that you're applying for, before you send that CV, take a look at the experiences and the skills. Are they relevant to the job that you're applying for? If a certain work experience is not relevant, I'm not saying it needs to be in the same line of, in the same industry or in the same line of work. It can be relevant in the sense that the responsibilities that you held are similar to what you are looking for in this job that you're applying for. Okay, so let's say you did a job in the past and you held some leadership position, and the role that you're applying for right now requires someone with leadership skills or leadership experience. It might not be in the same line of work as the job that you're applying for, but it is relevant. The skills are relevant. They are required. The skills that are required in these jobs, in this job that you apply for, are the skills that you used in the job that you applied for. So make sure you are tailoring your CV for the job that you're applying for. Before you hit send, just go through your CV and say, is this skill relevant to this job? Is this work experience relevant to this job? If it's not, please remove it. So tailor your CV to the job that you're applying for. 2 is keep it concise. Hiring managers and recruiters go through thousands of CVs just for one job. So if your CV is not easy to read, or if your CV has unnecessary information, they will not go through it. Your CV will not even be considered. So try to keep it not more than 2 pages. I'm sure in the quiz, many said depending on experience, but those many experiences that you have, are they relevant to the job that you're applying for? So weed them out if they're not relevant. Because if your CV is long, I don't think the manager has the time to go through it. So the hiring managers, they are busy. And if your CV is too long and too lengthy, please, you will miss out on these jobs. I also faced this. My CV was 4 pages long. Then there was another job that I applied for, and they said that send a CV, but it should not be more than 1 page. I was wondering what will I do to trim down my CV to 1 page. So I just went and took the most relevant experiences. I was just saying the job that I did, the work, the role I performed, and the experiences briefly, because it has to be 1 page. And I was called for an interview for that job. I was shocked because my CV was long, and I felt that I needed to show all that I've done, all my work experiences, even some that are not even relevant. So always customize your CV, and by customizing your CV, you'll be able to keep it short because you only include the experiences and skills that are relevant to the job that you're applying for. So if you keep your CV not more than 2 pages, no one has the time to go through 5, 6 pages of CV. Okay, so find the work experiences that are relevant to the job that you're applying for and include them. If it's not, leave it. And even the experiences that you're including, shorten it. Shorten it. Use bullet points to highlight the work that you did. Yeah, so not more than 2 pages. So use bullet points. Yeah, this is the next. This will help you keep a CV short because you'll not be writing long paragraphs of what you've been doing at specific jobs. So use bullet points to highlight key accomplishments, skills, and experiences for easy scanning by recruiters and hiring managers. Also, another tip is to highlight your achievements. Instead of listing your job duties, highlight your achievements in each positions. This will also help you keep your CV short, because when you start listing the duties that you did at a particular job, there are so many. Sometimes you are sent to go and get lunch for your seniors. I don't think that is something to include. So focus on the achievements and use numbers and specific examples to show your impact. Use keywords, as we've said. Companies use applicant tracking systems so to screen CVs before they reach recruiters, because the applications are many, and an ATS can quickly scan and tell them these CVs contain the keywords that are relevant to this job. These are the ones that will be considered. You need to realize that many people are applying. Many people are applying, and they may not have time to go through all those lengthy CVs that you have. So include keywords. It will make it easy for these systems to capture your CV and move it to the next stage. Make sure you find the keywords that are relevant for your job. So when a job is posted, assess the job description. Try and find those keywords that are relevant to this job, and make sure you have them in your CV. It could be in the work experience. They're looking for someone with 5 years of experience. So if your CV is not showing that you have 7 years of experience, you'll miss out on that job. If it's a particular skill, make sure you have it in your CV. Okay, that will increase your chances of beating some of these, to beat the systems. Okay, so also use a professional tone for your CV. Ensure that don't use slang or informal language, and check your spelling and grammar to ensure everything is okay. Yes, so that is the end of this webinar. So we've gone through how to craft your CV for maximum impact. Let me just go through that briefly, which is tailor your CV to the job you're applying for. Keep it short, not more than 2 pages. Use bullet points to highlight accomplishments. Highlight achievements instead of listing your job duties. Use keywords to beat ATS. A professional tone without grammar and spelling mistakes. So I would also encourage you there's a course on Baobab on how to write a CV. I'd encourage you to actually register for this course. Pressure will share the link for this course in the chat. It's a very nice course, so enroll for it. It's not that long, and you'll find valuable resources to help you write the best CV. This course is in English and it is also available in French. So if you're a French speaker, the link will also be shared with you that you can use to access this course. Also, before I invite questions, I also want to, I said I'll share a CV template that you can use to craft your CV. So let me stop sharing this screen with the CV template. I also want to share the link that you can use to access this template. So I've created a Google Drive. Okay. So let me share the link of this Google Drive. I'm sharing it in the chat. So this Google Drive, I will be adding resources to it. So the first resource is the CV template. I will also be adding more resources to it that you can use to help you in your job search. So let me share the link to the drive. So I have shared the Google Drive. I believe it's accessible to everyone with the link. If you're having trouble accessing it, please let me know. So let's briefly just go through the content of the drive. Let me share my screen. I hope you can see my screen. So this is the drive. It's our remote work resource library. It has links to, it will have all the resources that I'll be sharing with you. So the first resource I'll be sharing with you is a CV template. And this template, I've stored it in Google Docs so that you can easily edit. You can easily edit the file and download it. So this is it. It's a 2-page CV template. Don't please Don't go and butcher it and make it long. So as you can see, we have the contact details section. So you just add where you're from, your city, your country, your street, just state briefly. So if you are in Nairobi, say you are in which part of Nairobi, don't give your exact address. Also add your phone number and your email, then your name. Just write your name as we've talked about, your first and surname. And if you want to add your LinkedIn profile, so you can add your link across your name. So just highlight your name and insert link, then insert the link to your LinkedIn profile. So anyone who clicks on your name will be taken straight to your LinkedIn profile. So the next session after that is the professional summary. Just delete that and write your professional summary depending on the work you do. So just keep it brief, 2 to 3 lines. Then we go to the work experience section, write the company name, write the location of the company, and the job title. So if you are a sales executive, write your sales executive. If you are you worked as an engineer, make sure to add that as the job title. And you can see the arrangement is, you can see this, the first work experience is the most current one. So say when you started it, and just write present, or present to present. Then list the work experiences briefly in bullet point, highlighting successes and achievements. You can proceed and write other work experiences there. Just delete and write accordingly. Then we move over to education. You can write your education, what you've studied. It could be a degree, it could be a master's. Keep it short. There's only one section for education, but you can add another. So just add another section if you need to. And briefly, so you write the school name, where the school is located, and what you studied. Is it a degree? Is it a bachelor's degree? Is it a master's degree? Is it a certificate? Just change this degree to the type of certificate that you did. So instead of degree, you can write master's degree, you can write certificate, you can write diploma. Then when you started, the time you started and the time you graduated, you can also add the location with this template. So briefly talk about what you studied, or you can talk about your thesis if it's a master's. What was your research about? Just briefly about your education, not more than 2 lines. Then your awards and achievements. You remember how we talked about awards. What is the about of the award title? What was it about? And what did you achieve? Then there's another section here for languages, which I believe is important. It was not in the presentation, but you can add your languages, because as a remote worker, you'll be working with people from diverse backgrounds. So you may need to show that you are proficient in certain languages. Probably if you speak English, you speak French, make sure to add that. So you can see this I copied from my CV. I took a test to show my English proficiency, which is C1, the highest level. So this link will show you how you performed for this test. Also, I can encourage you, if you have the time, please take that test. It will rate your English levels, which is important for some people, for some organizations, because some applications, they require for you to have a certain level of a certain command of the English language. It could be even for other languages, French. So you can add this to your CV. It can increase your chances, because it could show the recruiter that it will be easy to communicate for you. It will be easy for you to communicate with your colleagues and write reports, things like that, or make presentations. So there's also technologies. I included technologies because you remember I told you recruiters are looking for tech skills. So if there are specific technologies that you feel are important for the role that you're applying for, make sure to list them. So just list them there briefly. You see, I have not quantified them, just list them, and you will explain yourself better during the interview session. We also talked about the skills section. So include your skills. You can write this briefly, or you can explain this skill. You can also just list the skill and continue with a comma and list another skill. It doesn't have to be listed as I have done in this template. This is just a grab of my CV. I just wanted to show you how I've crafted mine so that maybe you can take inspiration. So memberships and associations, just list your memberships and associations briefly without too much information. Then add your referees. With your referees, make sure to add their name, the position they work, their position, and their contact details. So this is the cell phone number and email. So make sure to add their cell phone number and their email address. Don't just give their names and leave it at that. The purpose of this CV is for them to be contacted. So you can see this is a 2-page CV. So you can also use this template. And when you use this template, this is a Google Doc file. Once you are done filling it, come here to File, go to Download, and download as a PDF document. Once you're done filling it, so that when you send it as a PDF document. You can download as Word, but I wouldn't advise you to send your CV as a Word document. Send it as a PDF document. It ensures that your information is safe and no one can change anything there. You know, sometimes they can, just to disqualify you, someone can add something incriminating there, and they can disqualify you from a role even when you're perfectly qualified. So make sure your CV is saved as Word. So this is the template. It has all the sections. It has a nice design. You can see it's not crowdy. It's aerated. Spaces are breathing well. So if you need, I believe everyone has access to this file I've shared. I've made it accessible to anyone with the link. And if you need any help with anything, you feel free to let me know. So that was our presentation, and I want to thank you for staying to the end. I know we've extended a bit, but this session was very important. I had to cover all the sessions, and I hope you all had a wonderful time. So I'll open up this session for questions. If you have any questions, feel free to use the chat. Feel free to raise your hand, and you'll get the opportunity to ask your question. And so we have one already. Birungi, please unmute and ask your question.
Hello, good. It's evening where I am. I don't know if it's evening everywhere else.
Hi,
but
Elizabeth.
My question is,
okay,
there are templates already on the internet. Do you maybe have specific ones that you recommend and others that you don't? Because for example, there's a website I know called Novo Resume, and they really give you the templates and you just have to fill in information. So can you say something about that? Do you recommend those kinds of templates? Are there disadvantages to using these templates that we find online? I just wanted you to make a comment on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your question. Yeah, there are many websites that give you templates. Actually, they don't really matter templates as such, because at the end of the day, it's about communicating your skills and experiences. And I believe you can do that with any template that you use. The essence of a template is to make your CV presentable. So there's no specific template that will work well for you. There's no specific template that will increase your chances of landing a job other than what you put into that template. So what matters most is the skills that's there, how you show your work experiences, but a template doesn't matter that much. It's just, a template just makes it easy to arrange your CV, because building your CV from scratch with a Word document, it's challenging, it's difficult, because it takes long, but a template has everything set up for you, and you can easily fill in the details, and you can fill in the details, download and use that. So I'm not saying that don't use a template, but I don't think they increase your chances that much. They just make your CV presentable. At the end of the day, it's your skills that will speak for you. I hope I've answered your question, Elizabeth.
Yes, please. Thank you so much.
Okay. So Carol, please unmute and ask your question.
Thanks for the presentation. So I have two questions. I think I'll just shoot them and then you can answer them at the end. So my first question is, when you mentioned to avoid showing lateral movement in your CV, so is there like the number of years that may act as a red flag? Because sometimes you may find that you're working probably with a startup and then things happen and the contract is no longer there, so you have to move for a new role. Are there like maximum years that can act as a red flag on your CV? And then my second question is, so in a profession like data roles, you may find that there are various of them, and there are some companies that may have the job title as maybe data analyst, but you are working on data science related things. So because you can't lie on the CV and say you're a data scientist while your contract is just clearly data analyst. Yeah. Is it okay to just state that and then maybe in the achievement you clearly communicate that part where you are, the data science bit? And does it sort of show some inconsistency to the recruiter if they're looking for a data scientist, but your CV is saying you previously worked as an analyst and then in another job you worked as a data scientist? So yeah, those are my questions. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much, Carol, for your question. So the first question on lateral movements. Yeah, it happens that you could be at a role and let's say you're working at a startup and it collapses and you have maybe to take a lesser job, another job. But for lateral movements, I meant like you're working at this role as a sales executive. You worked, let's say, for 5 years. Then the next job after this, you worked again as a sales executive for a different number of years. And after that, you still worked as a sales executive, let's say, for a certain number of years. You can see you are doing the same job, probably doing the same responsibilities. There's no like, you're not showing how you're growing. Because I think for you to, let's say if you work for a job for 5 years, I think you've gained enough experience to take up more responsibilities. Because I don't believe like this is the maximum that you can do. There is probably another level higher than where you are right now. And once you land at a particular job, your aim should be to progress to the next level. So if you are a junior level employee, progress to a mid-level employee. But if all your roles are showing that you've been working a certain job for a certain number of years, you leave that, you move to another job, you become like, the recruiter will start wondering what's wrong with this person, because you can't be doing the same thing over and over again without growth. You must have gained experience, and this experience should help you to elevate you. Okay, so if that has been the case, that you've been moving laterally in your career, probably you need to craft your CV in a manner that shows that in the next role, even if you're working, you had the same title, but you had more responsibility. You had more, you took up more roles. You showed the initiative to at least prove that you are worthy of promotion, even if they didn't give it to you. And if that did not come, you probably even decided to quit. Probably that's why you are looking for another job. So if it's a red flag that you are working at the same role for all this number of years, it shows you're not developing, which will not help you with your job search. And the next question on it was, let's say you are a data analyst and you are applying for. Can you rephrase the question again, please, Carol? The second question.
Yeah, so my question was the difference in the titles between companies. So maybe your profession is really a data scientist, but in a certain role, the title was data analyst, but whatever you are working on was more of the data science. So how do you sort of craft that if you are if you're targeting data science roles? Yeah.
Okay. So don't lie in your CV and say that if you're employed as a data analyst, your qualification is as a data scientist, but you took up this role as a data analyst. List that in your CV, state the work that you did, but you can use the achievement section, achievement and awards, to show that what I achieved was not necessarily as a data analyst, but I achieved what's the equivalent of the work that a data scientist does. Because where you're working as a data analyst, they hired you to do certain jobs, but you went above and beyond to do roles probably for a data scientist. So you can show that you can even show that in your work experience as you are highlighting your successes, that I was employed as a data analyst for this job, but because I show initiative, I went ahead and performed roles as a data scientist for this organization, and this is what I did, and highlight that in your work experience or in your achievement section. It will help you show that you performed a higher role, and this will make it easy for you in the job that you're applying for currently. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay. You're welcome.
I have a question.
Okay, please, if you have a question, please go ahead.
Yes, I have two questions. The first one is how to get informed about job opportunities when we talk about remote working. I could see that it's something that is very rare, but it's something that is quite interesting. So how can we get informed about the kind of opportunities? That's the first question. And the second one is, what are the key communication skills? And when I talk about communication skills, it's more about technical skills you believe we need to have to be able really to be considered when we talk about job recruitment, for instance. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikesa, for your question. So how to get informed about remote opportunities? So remote opportunities, no one will inform you about them. You just need to go out and find them. So, so you need to be actively looking for remote roles. And we did a session earlier, I'm not sure if you attended, and I shared how to find remote roles. So let me just briefly take you them. So you need to find the sites that share remote opportunities. Sites that share remote opportunities, you can check on FlexJobs, you can check on We Work Remotely, you can also use LinkedIn to find remote roles, because modify your search when you're looking for a job on LinkedIn and specify that you're looking for remote roles, and you will be the search results will show you the remote roles that are there. You can even use Google, say I'm looking for a remote role as an IT specialist, and they will list for you the remote roles that are there. No one is going to come to find you and tell you, apply for this remote role. So you need to actively look after them. You can also follow specific influencers on social media, Twitter. There are companies that share these roles, and they will notify you when a job in your line of work comes. Okay, so key communication skills you need to succeed as a remote worker, and tech skills. One is I can say that communication skills is how to use, you're talking about how to use these tools. So these tools are not that hard to learn how to use, because once you install them, you'll probably be added into a group chat and you will be able to receive communication from your teammates, your colleagues. So with communication skills, you first need to have the tool that your organization is using to, the organization is using to communicate with other employees. So once you have that software installed, you can get notified when someone reaches out to you. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it's fine.
Okay, so before I take any other questions, I'd like to tell you that we have a quiz. It's a very short quiz, probably something, it's about everything that we've covered in this webinar. And I'd like to ask you to take part in the quiz. It will contribute to your performance in the assessment for the Remote Opportunities Challenge. So to take the quiz, move over to polls. The quiz has launched. I'm sure you can see it. If not, head over to polls and you will see the quiz, polls/quizzes at the bottom of the screen. And we have 6 questions. So there are multiple choice questions. So we have this quiz in English. We also have it in French. So if you are competent in French, you can wait for this English quiz to end and you can start with you can do the French one, but we'll start with the English quiz. Head over to polls. I can see no one has started with the quiz. It's already 48 seconds into it. We only have 3 minutes for this quiz. So start doing it now, please. It's not hard. It's multiple choices. And it's the quiz covers everything that we've talked about. So please go ahead and do the quiz and we will discuss it after this. So you have only 3 minutes. If it has not appeared to your screen, click on polls at the bottom of your screen, polls/quizzes, and you will see the quiz. The first one is in English, and after that, we'll have the quiz in French. I can see 7 of you have done the quiz. Thank you so much. So you can see it's not that hard. So the English quiz is about to end. If you have not taken it, this is their time now. And after that, we will head over to the French. We'll end the English poll and head over to the English poll and head over to the French poll. Okay, so the French quiz has popped. I believe you can see it on your screens. So if you are comfortable in French, you can take the quiz now in French. The French quiz will run for 5 minutes. I can see no one is taking the French poll, so we can assume you all took the English poll. So 1.5 minutes into the French poll, the French quiz, and we can see no one so far, but we'll just give it some time just in case someone is still trying to maneuver how to get to the quiz. So I can see one person has done the French poll. Thank you so much. See 4 people have done the French quiz. Okay, so the French quiz is done. So let's go over the questions. So question 1 was, what is the ultimate goal of your CV? We had 4 options, and the answer was to get the job that you're applying for. Yes, that is the ultimate goal of a CV. I can see someone answer to show your life story. No, it's not to show your life story, probably your professional story, but not your life story. So a CV is the ultimate goal of a CV is to get the job that you're applying for. So what should you include in the work experience section of your CV? So that was question 2. We had options: your entire employment history, only the most relevant work experience for the job you're applying for, your hobbies and interests, none of the above. So the answer was only the most relevant work experience for the job that you're applying for. Yes. Also, and I can see there was a question in the chat. If someone asked, I can't, let me see who asked that question. If someone asked if you should include Herbert asked, necessary to add hobbies to your CV. Please don't add any hobbies to your CV. No one wants to know if you like making new friends in your free time. That was something we used to do back then, but I think it's not relevant anymore. So don't add hobbies to your CV. If you have hobbies in your CV, please get rid of them. It's just making your CV long for nothing, and it doesn't communicate anything about your capability to accomplish the job that you're applying for. So Herbert, please don't add hobbies to your CV. So that's question 2. Question 3 was, what is the purpose of using bullet points in your CV? So options were to make your CV longer, to highlight key accomplishments, skills, and experiences, to make your CV more visually appealing. This was challenging because 2 answers look correct, but the most right answer is to highlight your key accomplishments, skills, and experiences. You're not using bullet points to make your CV visually appealing. It has that effect, but the reason you're using it is to make it easy for recruiters. You're specifically using it in your work experiences, so it makes it easy for the recruiter to quickly scan and see what you achieved at a particular role. Okay, so the purpose of using bullet points is to highlight key accomplishments and skills. Okay, I can see 15 got it correct, 9 got it wrong. So which of the following is a mistake to avoid when writing a CV? Okay, so the answer is including irrelevant information. I can see all of you got that right. Why is it important to customize your CV for each job application? This is another challenging question with different answers from the participants. So it's a requirement for most job applications. It shows that you've done your research on the company and the role. It's a good way to save time. So none of the above. So the correct answer is it shows that you've done research on the company and your role. Remember, recruiters and those who are posting jobs will not ask you, please tailor your CV to this job. It's not a requirement for most applications. It's for you to use it. Customizing your CV is a way for you to show that you understand what you're applying for, to show that you understand this role. Okay, you're not just listing all your work experiences. You're not just listing all your hobbies and skills. You're only customizing your CV to highlight relevant skills and experiences. So 18 got that right, and 4 said picked A, another 2 picked C, which is wrong. So what is one way to make your CV stand out to remote employers? Oh, I can see there are varied answers, but most of you got it right, which is to highlight your experience working remotely. Okay, so one way to make your CV stand out when applying for remote jobs is to show that you have experience working remotely or in a remote setting. So you need to show that in your CV. If you want to get a remote role, you need to highlight that I've worked remotely in the past, I have some remote work experience, and this will help you secure an interview for the role that you're applying for. So that was our quiz, and I can see you did well. I want to thank you for paying attention, and I I think we will take note of how you have performed, and we'll use this information in deciding for our remote opportunities challenge. I can see it's very late. The webinar was supposed to run for an hour, but we've done 2 hours, and I want to thank you for staying till this moment. Let me see if there's any pending questions on the chat. Let me see if there are any pending questions. Okay, so if there are any questions, Gracia will send them to me and I will respond to them, and the answers will be shared to you through your emails. I can see it's getting late, and it was not our intention to keep it this long, but we had an informative session to cover, and I'm glad you stayed till the end. So thank you so much for tuning in. It was a blessing it was a pleasure to have you, and I want to remind you that we'll have another session. Session 3 will come 3 weeks after today. It will be on how to write a cover letter. So after CV, you need to accompany it with a cover letter, and it will be a nice session just like this. So watch out for our communication about the session, and if you can, please invite other people so that we can learn together and we can all benefit from these sessions. So I want to thank everyone who made time to be with us. It's been an honor to be your host today. Thank you so much. Be blessed.
You and I, we're breaking bounds on Baobab.